Hi folks, this is your MWIS Planning Outlook with our latest long-range thoughts. If you're looking for any good summer weather for the time being, I'm afraid you're in the wrong place because we're very much dominated by a broad trough in the upper atmosphere of lower temperatures and lower pressure. That's just sort of circulating around and redeveloping a further centre of low pressure that swings across the country as we go onwards into this weekend. So for a little while yet, we're very much going to be under rather unsettled weather conditions. Looking at temperatures in relation to average, this is over the 5 days through to the end of the weekend, and we're a little bit below average, especially across western regions, eastern parts a little bit nearer to the seasonal average. The hot weather at the moment very much focused across the south and southeast of Europe, some exceptional heat in this part of the world being wafted in from North Africa at this time. Into next week, our temperatures stay on the lower side of average, whilst again the hotter weather is focused across the south of Europe. This chart is your accumulating rainfall over the days ahead, and nowhere really escaping the rain altogether, with rain or showers pretty widespread, sometimes scattered, but other times there's some more organised rain coming through, particularly by Friday into the weekend, moving up from the southwest. Overall then, totals by the time we get to the end of the weekend for most of the upland regions are in excess of 20 or 30 mil, but many places facing west and south will be double or treble that, with values then in excess of 50 mil. So a couple of inches of rain quite widely then across many of the mountain regions. Looking at that day by day on the synoptic charts, and here is Wednesday first of all with a brisk westerly breeze. Low pressure is northeast of Scotland. That will feel rather cool then. We're exposed. There'll be some showers pushing from west to east during the day. The heaviest of those typically across more eastern areas. By the afternoon, the chance of an isolated rumble of thunder. Air temperatures then are in single figures, and it will feel near or below freezing point. We're exposed to that wind. Thursday sees the breeze not quite as strong overall, and the showers somewhat more scattered, but still the risk of a few being around, again pushing from west to east, maybe slightly more frequent in northern Scotland for a time, and one or two heavier ones across more eastern parts of the Highlands and the borders by the afternoon. If anything, England and Wales sees fewer showers altogether, with a ridge of higher pressure just trying to build its way in. So some bright spells, some sunny spells, and cloud bases lifting toward or above the higher tops. Friday goes downhill from the southwest though, with the next centre of low pressure sweeping in. Some heavy rain is expected for Wales. That may become more extensive later in the day, pushing north and eastwards, but across the northern and eastern parts of Scotland you may well get away with a half decent day with some bright spells, some sunshine and cloud above the hills for a time. But do be aware of strengthening winds, which will be gales or even severe gales across the tops on the Welsh mountains, and those gale force winds could extend further north with time. So just be aware of deteriorating across the Highlands, especially through Friday afternoon. You might want to peep at these charts through your fingertips if you've got some outdoor plans for the weekend, because it's not looking particularly clever, with quite a deep area of low pressure in charge, areas of rain that look pretty heavy and some showers to go with that as well. Again, the risk of some embedded thundery bursts in there, and strong to gale force winds in the forecast as well. The local detail is open to some question in terms of who sees the wettest conditions and who sees the strongest winds. It looks as though the focus of the wind is further south across England and Wales, but that detail may just change slightly. Either way, it does look as though we've got some pretty challenging conditions on the way for Saturday. And as we go into Sunday, very similar, with that low still very much on the scene. We've got strong winds for many places, and the risk of some frequent heavy rain or showers. Maybe some bright spells in between as the low just begins to open out and decay slightly, so some drier intervals, but I'd always be expecting some heavy bursts of rain to never be too far away. And temperatures again, we're exposed to that wind, will feel distinctly cool, wind chill factors feeling close to freezing or below across the high tops, so do go prepared for that. Can we find anything better as we go through the second half of July? Well, tentative improvements. That's the 7-day pressure anomaly pattern through this week through to the 17th, where low pressure is right over the top of us for the 7-day average. By next week, that's the 7 days through until the 24th. And that low is focused more over Scandinavia, and high pressure to the west and maybe just to the south, trying to nudge their way in. The pressure anomaly is not quite as low. It's still the suggestion, though, that lower than average pressure is around, so you'd still expect, at the very least, some mixed conditions, some rain or some showers at times, but maybe just that chance for some drier and brighter days too, if we do just get that influence of higher pressure. I suspect that week as a whole is a bit of a mixture, but maybe just some pattern changes to something better trying to get in. For a while at least, the prevailing flow is coming around still from the north or the northwest, and that will keep things on the cooler side. Looking towards the end of the month and into early August, I'll discuss these sort of 2 weeks in one sequence really, as there's still broadly the signal for lower than average pressure that does seem to have expanded further across the country compared to what some of these charts showed a few weeks ago. Overall though, one of the messages that still comes out is the focus of low pressure looking a bit further south and higher pressure existing further towards the north, and that signal is shown a bit more strongly as we flip the calendar into August there. That would at least cut off to some extent the westerly flow into Scotland and instead mean that shallow zones of low pressure would circulate further toward the south. It's still not a settled pattern, but it does just maybe give some opportunity for Western Scotland to improve. That's maybe shown somewhat more on the rainfall chart. This is the rainfall anomaly where we compare again with the seasonal average. The green colours show the wetter than average conditions. That's the first of those weeks up until the 31st of July, which just gives above average rainfall for most, although notice Western Scotland under the white colours would only be average in terms of rainfall. The drier conditions are focused away towards Iceland. As we go through into the first week of August, those green colours do just subside further southwards. So England and Wales still looks rather wet. Scotland, less so. There's a few green blobs around though, which still indicate the risk of some showers, maybe thundery at times, but overall it's only average conditions. So there's just that suggestion for some drier conditions there at times across the northern half of Britain through that period, whereas the south is much more likely to stay on the wetter side. I think that is as tentatively good as we can do in terms of finding any better weather at this stage, especially across the Highlands. Very tentative, but just the hints as we go toward the middle part of August that those patterns may just start to shuffle back around again and reverse themselves, and in that low pressure is back over Scandinavia. Higher pressure is more toward the south. That's a suggestion through into the middle part of the month. So could well be that England and Wales sees an improvement there, whereas Scotland starts to see those weather patterns coming back in from the Atlantic, so poorer toward the west and the northwest the further we go into August. Naturally, there's more uncertainty once we go further ahead, but in the shorter term, we are pretty confident, I'm afraid, that that weekend forecast is looking rather poor. Keep up to date on our website with all those local details. Thanks for watching. Bye for now.